It's good to see all of you. I would like to dedicate my talk for the benefit of all beings. This is something very important, this dedication, and it's something that I think is beneficial for everyone to do in their spiritual practice, because I've become more and more aware how much of our God realization is dependent on grace. Of course, we create the conditions for grace ourselves by our own efforts, our dedication, our sincerity, our readings, our meditation, our service to others. We create those conditions whereby we may receive grace, but actually those moments of enlightenment or bliss or insight or divine love, I feel, are the grace of God. But it is up to us to create those conditions. Like if we were expecting an important guest for dinner, we would clean the cup in which we were going to pour the wine for our guest. So this is cleaning our minds so that God can reside in our minds and in our hearts. So again, I dedicate my words, and every day when I get up, I dedicate my actions of this day for the benefit of others. And in that way, I am open to receive the grace of God that comes to me. And it's something very real. So some of you may recognize the title of this talk from the film, The Blues Brothers, starring Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. And again, grace comes to John Belushi in that film because they are trying to raise money for the orphanage, for the nun who raised them as children when they were in the orphanage. And the orphanage is going to be sold for back payment of taxes. So they are trying to figure out how to raise money to pay off the tax bill for the orphanage. And they go to church. And this is a church service unlike any other church service that you will ever see. James Brown is the pastor. And there are people dancing in the aisle, and it's one of the most inspiring, heartfelt services. But at some point, so they're praying to God, how can we raise money for the orphanage? Which again is the dedication of their actions. They're not trying to raise money for themselves. They're trying to raise money to benefit homeless children. And they're standing in the back of the church, and James Brown says, "Have you seen the light?" And he says this 3 times, "Have you seen the light?" And at a certain point, you're outside the church and you see a beam of light come out of a cloud and strike the church. And James Brown sees that and he says, "Have you seen the light?" And that beam of light strikes John Belushi, and he's completely enveloped in light and looks like he's going to ascend. His whole body becomes luminous. And he says, "Yes, praise God, I have seen the light." And then he gets the idea, God gave him the idea to restart their band that they used to have. And through doing performances, they could raise money for the orphanage. So they went to church asking for guidance, and they received it. And again, it wasn't a voice They didn't go to someone for a channeling. They didn't throw tarot cards or anything like that. It came as an intuition. But they made the effort to seek the guidance and to dedicate themselves for a noble purpose to benefit others. And then the guidance came through as an intuition or inspiration. And so after that, they went around. The rest of the film is how they got their old band back together to raise money to save the orphanage. So again, this concept of seeing the light, it's not always luminous like a beam of light, like a searchlight. I used to not actually believe in the light. I thought when people said, "Have you seen the light?" they meant, "Have you seen the truth of something? Have you seen the light about the political situation or something like that?" It wasn't until I was writing poetry when I lived in New York City. I came in at the tail end of the beatnik generation before the hippie phenomenon. And I was a poet, and Allen Ginsberg lived up the street from me. I used to see him every once in a while. And one day I was very inspired in the poem I wrote, and I stood up. I felt this tremendous energy inside of me, and I saw light around me, like John Belushi in the Blues Brothers. And I went, wow, the light is real. I have seen the light. And it wasn't really until later, other experiences started happening where I saw that light is real. And it's by invoking that light that we increase our vibratory rate and we can ascend. Now, behind me is a tanka, or a tapestry, as they call it, a tanka in Tibet. This is of Padmasambhava ascending. Padmasambhava, in around the year 800, brought Buddhism to Tibet. And by invoking the light, he raised his frequency so that he could ascend and enter a higher frequency. And he is helping us now from that frequency. So I'd like to, rather than get off in a long talk, I think it's good I jump right to the practice, the light practice. Otherwise, I get carried away with my stories here. So I'm trying to summarize the previous two talks I gave. But the point is, this light is very real. And we have what we call a physical body, which is not even really very physical. Scientists will tell you that solid objects are not really solid, that everything is basically thought, energy, and vibration. That what we think is a solid object is 99 9/10% empty space. It's just vibrating at the same frequency as our consciousness. So it's like in a dream, everything seems solid in a dream. And it is in the dream. So this is a dream also. This physical body is a dream. And we are meeting now in a dream. And many of you have told me that you feel my energy when I'm talking. And how does that work? Because I feel your energy also. That is because our light bodies are actually meeting in an etheric church someplace. When you are talking to someone on the phone, you are actually meeting with them etherically. That's how you know who is calling you. Sometimes the phone rings and you know, oh, that's so-and-so. That's because their light body contacted your light body. They didn't say, I'm going to contact them with my light body. It's just where the intent was, there you are. So the more you focus on that, the more real it becomes. That's like in the scripture, it says, where your treasure is, there you are. So storing up your treasures on earth, but in heaven, then you will be in heaven, or the heaven consciousness, or the etheric consciousness. I just had an email from a man. He said his biggest dilemma every day was when he went out to his garage, should he drive the Ferrari or the Bugatti? And this was his big decision of the day. And during the day, this influenced him. And then he started reading these teachings, what I call the I am teachings. And he decided was more important was to feel the light than what car he drove, and all of the various ego trips around how he appeared to others and how he appeared to himself. So each of us have that decision at every moment. What am I going to put my attention on? And that is the second meaning of let thine eye be single. That can mean being one-pointed, being focused. So I choose to be one-pointed in my spiritual work. When I sit to meditate, I attempt to be one-pointed. Then actually your eyesight can become single. You can open the third eye and see into other dimensions. And it's not like an actual physical eye there. It's the activity of the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. So it's that same light I saw when I was inspired writing poetry. That light rose up through my body and activated those glands in my head. Then I could start to see into a higher frequency. So when you know that you are a being of light, and you can put your attention on that light and increase that light, then you begin the ascension process. It is not just light also. Light is one aspect of it. The other aspect is love. Sometimes that light manifests as love. You feel it, when that light reaches your heart center, you feel it as love more, but you can also see it as light. And then it naturally ascends up through all your centers. And as that happens, your inner sight increases, your intuition expands, your sense of connectedness with all beings expands. So as we enter more into our light bodies and our light consciousness, we realize our oneness with all others, and even with inanimate objects. As someone mentioned in the last talk that I gave at the end, the Huichol Indians regard everything as alive. And that changes your relationship to it, because that solid object is also made of light, consciousness, and vibration. That is how some of these great yogis in the Himalayas can precipitate objects in their hand. I witnessed this. One of them even precipitated an object in my own hand, so it could not be faked. My hand was closed, and nectar was precipitated in my hand, so much nectar that it filled a 2-pint container. So they simply are aware, they're conscious in the dream. So whatever they think and desire comes into being. I'm sure this is how Jesus multiplied the loaves and fishes. There are other, I saw this done in India. Sai Baba did this. He gave someone a bowl of sweets to give out to a group of 20,000 people. He gave several people bowls, and those bowls never emptied. They kept giving out these round balls called ladus, and they never got to the bottom. They were able to feed all 20,000 people without the bowl being refilled. So as Jesus said, what I have done, you can do also, and even greater things than these can you do. So I think probably the important thing is not to work on precipitating bread and fish right now, but to precipitate peace on earth and goodwill and love among humanity. And we can do that no matter where we are at any moment. Even this talk, with all of you attending, is going out and affecting the world, because each of us is like a transmitter or a Wi-Fi router sending out signals, sending out our thoughts. And even if someone is on the other side of the world, your thoughts and feelings are affecting them. So let me give you a very simple technique. The further I go, the more I see how the most powerful methods are often the simplest ones. This is called the basic light meditation. And if you wanted to read about it, there's a book called Unveiled Mysteries by Godfrey Ray King. And I think you can download it free from the internet, Unveiled Mysteries. And in the first chapter, he gives this meditation. And it's very similar to the meditations given by other teachers also. But you close your eyes and just visualize a light in the center of your chest, like the sun. And know that your body is not solid. It's like, it can be like a crystal where that light fills the whole crystal that is your body. Or actually imagine even you are in your light body, and the center of that light body is this sun in the center of your chest. Now there actually is a light in the center of your chest. It's anchored around the thymus gland under the sternum, and it's what in India is called the Jyoti, or the sacred flame. This is the light that keeps you breathing, that keeps your heart beating. That God presence, which is above each of us, sends that light down. In fact, I showed you a picture last time. Here is a picture of it. You are that ball of light, and then it shows the human body at the bottom, and it sends that tube of light down through the top of your head, and it's anchored in the center of your chest. It's not the physical heart, it's slightly to the right under the sternum. You can feel it when you tap there. So that is where the feeling is, but as you close your eyes, see yourself in your light body, which is being filled and sustained by that sun. This is how, the same as when Jesus said, I am the Son of God. This is S-U-N. And you can say that, I am the Son of God, or God is the Son within me. And feel that light filling your body and radiating through your body, through that crystalline body, out into the room, just like a light switch was turned on. And it's radiating through the walls of the room, out into the place where you live, out into the town, out into the United States, through the entire earth. The whole earth is merging with that sun. This is the purpose of the Gayatri mantra, which you can hear on YouTube. You can hear Sai Baba chanting the Gayatri mantra. It's may the light of the sun the sun consciousness be one with my consciousness. So in that consciousness, you can say, I am a son of God, not the son of God, I am a son of God. And just keep your attention on that sun, and make it brighter and brighter. And gradually your ego, your sense of self dissolves, and you simply are a sun, radiating rays of light out into eternity. And if some of you have a hard time with visualization, just think of it as love. Feel the love in your heart. And if you have a hard time with that, think of somebody or something you love, even your cat. Something you think of that generates love, and know that that love is also a light. And that love and light are being transmitted out into the universe. So at this moment, the light and love in the universe are increasing, because you are the focus of God right where you are at this moment. Let us just pause for a moment to feel that and expand that light. I am the living light. You can say that to yourself silently. I am the living light, raising all humanity into the consciousness of the light. And you can end that by saying, I am a child of the light. I love the light. I live in the light throughout every day. I am supplied and sustained by the light. I serve the light, and I am grateful for the light, which I am. And I thank you, God. Now, as you do this more and more, it becomes stronger. And there is a temptation to just dwell in it and sit in meditation, which is why many yogis go to the mountains, go to caves, to just be in that and merge with the oneness. However, keep in mind, you were in that oneness before you took birth. As Father Seán says, we were all gods, but we took on these earthly spacesuits we call our bodies and our personalities to play out some great movie. We're all on a mission for God, like Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi in the Blues Brothers. That's the line they say frequently. Remember, we're on a mission from God. So we are all on missions from God. We all came here to serve, to develop compassion for each other, and to learn. So just going into a cave and merging with the light is not enough. You came out of that consciousness into human birth for a reason. So this is where service comes in. And this is where mastery, the path of mastery, how can I serve in this body? How can I make a difference to others? And I know most of you are engaged in that with the Catholic worker projects and so on. But some people may say, well, I don't really feel the compassion. I'm doing it because I know it's good. the thing in a movie is, even if you know you're only in a movie, you're not really playing your part effectively unless you really generate the feeling. So one way to generate the feeling is actually to do something compassionate, even if you don't feel the compassion at the moment. Just the act of giving or helping someone generates compassion in you. As you make contact with that person and you feel their gratitude, you go, oh, that felt good. There's a man I see every day at the freeway on-ramp, a young man, and he has a sign he's holding up, out of work, please give what you can. And I'm going to stop there when I get a chance, because down the street, there are about a dozen businesses that have signs up in the windows, help wanted. So it's kind of a joke, him holding up a sign saying, for days, I've seen him there for days now, out of work. So obviously he's not really looking for work. He thinks he's looking for money, but what is he going to use that money for? He doesn't look hungry, possibly drugs. So I'm intent on the next time I go by there, I'm going to stop and talk with him and ask him what is really going on in his life. That I know he's not looking for a job, and I'm pretty sure he's not hungry. What is really going on? I feel it's a plea in his heart to connect with somebody, that he feels some great lack, as I think we have all felt over this past year. Maybe this is his way of reaching out. So it's not the money so much. Yesterday, I was in the parking lot in town, and a young guy came up to me and wanted to sell me some headphones that he had. And I knew I could buy new ones for $10 at the store. He said he needed it for food, but I know that's not true. In fact, after I gave him twice what he asked for the headphones, but it touched him that someone had stopped to talk with him. And so I'm saying, even if you don't feel it, somehow just to go up to someone and connect with them is a path to generate not only benefit for them, but compassion for within yourself. And just the act of praying for others opens you up to more compassion. So this sort of is my effort to draw together the last couple of talks. The first one was about religion versus realization. Religion is generally formed around someone who has had an amazing spiritual realization, has realized that they are God or a God, and their followers form an organization around them, and that performs a service to bind people together as a community, but sometimes it binds people to a dogma also, which prevents the followers from having the same God experience. So the next talk I gave was self-realization versus other realization. So becoming enlightened only for your own joy and pleasure versus mastery in the world of being of service to others. And in this process, you really have to look within at yourself, at your own thoughts and feelings. So as you practice meditation, you begin to observe other parts of yourself. So this morning, I was using my mala and reciting a mantra, and I heard the dog barking down the street. So I could hear the mantra going silently, but then there was also the dog barking. Then I said, gee, I have to give a homily this morning, there was a little element of fear. So there were three things I was observing. Then I observed myself observing these three things. And then they didn't seem so important anymore. The dog was still barking. But again, it was just something in the background in the movie. But I began to identify with the self that is beyond physical and emotional phenomena. So this is something very valuable we can do when we sit to meditate, not think that we're having a bad meditation because thoughts and emotions arise. The point is to look at those things from the perspective of being above them or separate from them, because your light body, your higher vehicle, your higher consciousness is the observer of the movie. So the thing is to be able to observe both simultaneously. I liken this to being in a movie theater and you're watching a really good movie and you get drawn in and you start to experience it as a living event that you're partaking of, and you feel all of the fear and the joy and the love of the characters in the film. But then you look back and you see there's a beam of light coming from the projector and you go, oh, this is just a phenomenon. These are just beams of light on the screen and sound that I'm hearing. This is all something on a film. None of it is real. But still, you feel the emotion of it, but it lessens the impact of it if, like, you look at that beam of light and you look around and you see other people around you and you go, oh, okay, I'm in a movie theater. In an hour, I can leave the theater and walk out. So it's the same with the movie of our lives. Through meditation, self-observation, we can observe it as a movie and rise above it and know that it is not permanent. We will all be able to walk out of the theater at some point. None of us know when the movie's going to be over. But when we leave, I guarantee you we'll be in a state of joy and bliss, because we are actually gods who live in eternity. And we are only here in this movie for a moment. So we should try to enjoy it as best we can and help others to wake up in the movie.